Discovery in the void, the exploration vessel. Perseverance drifted through the cosmic wasteland at the edge of known space, its sensors scanning the darkness for anything unusual. Captain Marcus Chen stood at the observation deck, watching the dying red giant that dominated the view. They had been out here for 6 months, pushing the boundaries of human exploration further than ever before. The crew of 32 had grown used to the monotonous beauty of deep space, but something about this system felt different. "Captain, we're picking up something strange," Lieutenant Sarah Kim announced from her station. Her voice carried a hint of excitement that made Marcus turn immediately. In their line of work, strange usually meant significant. "There's a structure orbiting the star. It's artificial, sir, and it's massive." Marcus felt his pulse quicken as he moved to the tactical display. The holographic projection showed a geometric shape that defied natural formation. It was a perfect octahedron, each face measuring nearly 10 kilometers across, rotating slowly in a decaying orbit around the dying star. The surface appeared to be made of some crystalline material that reflected the star's crimson light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "How did our long-range sensors miss this?" Marcus asked, though he already suspected the answer. The structure seemed to bend light around itself, creating a natural camouflage that only became visible once you were practically on top of it. "It's been here a long time, Captain," Kim continued, her fingers dancing across her console. "Carbon dating from the surrounding debris field suggests at least 1,000,000 years. Maybe more. Whatever built this, they're long gone." Marcus made his decision quickly. Humanity had been searching for signs of intelligent life for over a century, since they'd mastered faster-than-light travel. This was their first real discovery of something unquestionably alien. "Prepare an away team. Full environmental suits, maximum caution. We're going to take a closer look." The approach to the structure took 3 hours. As they drew nearer, the true scale of the construction became apparent. The surface wasn't smooth as it had appeared from a distance. Instead, it was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched, like writing that rewrote itself constantly. The Perseverance's shuttlecraft looked like a speck of dust against the enormous face of the octahedron. Inside the shuttle, Marcus led a team of 5 specialists. Dr. James Wright, their xenoarchaeologist, could barely contain his enthusiasm. Emma Torres, the ship's engineer, studied the structure with professional interest. The others maintained a careful watch, weapons ready but not drawn. Humanity had learned to be cautious in the cosmos but not aggressive. They found an entry point that seemed to recognize their approach, opening like an iris as the shuttle neared. The interior was a vast chamber lit by the same crimson glow as the star outside, though there was no visible source for the illumination. The walls were covered in the same shifting symbols, and in the center of the chamber stood a pedestal with what appeared to be a control interface. "Atmosphere is breathable," Torres reported, checking her instruments. "Temperature is optimal for human comfort." "It's like this place was expecting us." Marcus approached the pedestal carefully. The moment he came within 2 meters of it, the symbols on the walls suddenly froze in place. Then, impossibly, they rearranged themselves into recognizable text. English, modern English. "Welcome, children of Earth," the text read. "You have passed the first gate. Your species exhibits the required neural patterns. The Vigil has waited 1,247,232 solar cycles for a species of your configuration. You are the inheritors." Dr. Wright was already documenting everything, his hands shaking with excitement. "This is unprecedented. They knew we would come. They knew humans specifically would find this place." Before Marcus could respond, the chamber filled with holographic images. They saw the galaxy as it was millions of years ago, teeming with life. Hundreds of species, each unique and beautiful in their own way, spread across the stars. Then came the darkness, a force that consumed entire civilizations, leaving nothing but empty worlds and dead stars in its wake. The images showed a coalition of the surviving species building these structures, seeding them throughout the galaxy. They were tests, beacons, and weapons all in one, but they required something specific to activate. They required a species with the unique combination of creativity, compassion, and controlled aggression that the builders had calculated would eventually evolve. "They predicted us," Emma whispered. They knew that someday, somewhere, a species like humanity would arise. The pedestal began to glow brighter. Marcus felt a presence in his mind, gentle but insistent. It wasn't invasive like the telepathy humans had encountered in some of their genetic experiments. This was more like a memory being shared, a story being told directly to his consciousness. He saw the truth. The darkness that had consumed the ancient civilizations wasn't gone. It was dormant, waiting at the edge of the galaxy. The structures like this one were sentinels, guardians left behind to prepare the next wave of life for what was coming. And humanity, with their unique neural configuration that balanced logic and emotion, aggression and empathy, individual ambition and collective cooperation, were the key to activating the defense network. "Captain," Kim's voice crackled over the comm from the Perseverance, "we're detecting multiple energy signatures activating across this sector. Whatever you did in there, it's waking something up." Marcus looked at his team. Each face reflected the same mix of awe and responsibility. They had come looking for signs of ancient life and instead found a legacy and a burden. The structure began to pulse with energy, and new text appeared on the walls. The vigil ends. The storm approaches. Humanity must choose. Inherit the guardianship of this galaxy or let the cycle of extinction continue. You have proven capable of both great violence and great mercy, of logic and intuition, of standing alone and standing together. These contradictions make you suitable. The choice is yours. A new interface materialized from the pedestal, clearly designed for human hands. Marcus understood instinctively that activating it would change everything. Humanity would inherit not just the knowledge of the ancient civilizations, but their responsibility. They would become the guardians of all life in the galaxy, protectors against a threat that had destroyed countless species before them. Dr. Wright was analyzing the data streams now visible throughout the chamber. "Captain, this is incredible. They're offering us their entire technological database. Weapons, medical knowledge, faster than light communication that makes our current tech look like smoke signals. But it comes with the obligation to protect other species, even ones we haven't met yet." Marcus thought about Earth, about humanity's turbulent history. They had fought wars that nearly destroyed their planet, but they had also united when faced with global challenges. They had shown cruelty but also incredible kindness. They were a species of contradictions, and apparently that's exactly what the galaxy needed. "Send a message to Earth," Marcus ordered. "Tell them we found our answer to the Fermi paradox. The universe isn't empty. It's waiting, and it's waiting for us specifically." He reached for the interface, but before he could touch it, alarms blared through the chamber. Kim's voice came through urgently. "Captain, we've got company. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're not human, and they're heading straight for us." The text on the wall shifted again. "Others have detected the vigil's end. Not all will welcome humanity's ascension." The test continues. "Show them what makes your species unique. Show them why you were chosen." Marcus smiled grimly. Humanity's first real contact with living aliens was about to happen under the worst possible circumstances. But then again, humans had always performed best under pressure. It was one of those contradictions that made them who they were. "Torres, can you interface with this system?" "Right. I need you to download everything you can. Everyone else, we're about to have visitors and they might not be friendly. Remember, we're not just representing Earth anymore. We're apparently representing the future of the entire galaxy." As his team scrambled to action, Marcus stood before the pedestal, his hand hovering over the interface. The ancient builders had waited over 1,000,000 years for humanity to arrive. They had predicted their evolution, their expansion to the stars, even their unique psychological profile. But could they have predicted what humans would do next? The chamber shook as something impacted the structure's exterior. The visiting ships had opened fire. Marcus made his decision. He pressed his palm against the interface and immediately felt the rush of 1,000,000 years of accumulated knowledge flooding into the structure's systems, waiting to be claimed. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of Earth Vessel Perseverance," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We are humanity. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. And apparently we have a galaxy to protect. So let's talk about this like civilized beings, shall we?" The choice of destiny. The 3 alien vessels hung in space like predators circling prey. Each was uniquely designed, clearly from different species, but they moved in coordinated formation. Marcus stood in the ancient chamber, his hand still pressed against the interface, feeling the weight of 1,000,000 years of galactic history flowing through the connection. "Captain, they're responding," Kim reported from the Perseverance. 3 different languages, but our translation matrix is working overtime. They're calling themselves the Hegemony Alliance. They claim guardianship over all Sentinel structures. Marcus exchanged glances with Dr. Wright, who was frantically documenting the data streams flowing through the chamber. The archaeologist looked up with concern. Captain, according to these records, there shouldn't be any authorized guardians. The builders made sure of that. They wanted the inheritors to come without preconceptions or existing power structures. Through the interface, Marcus could feel the structure systems responding to his touch. It recognized him, recognized humanity's unique neural patterns in a way that was clearly exclusive. These other species, whatever they were, couldn't activate the Sentinel the way humans could. Patch them through, Marcus ordered. Let's hear what they have to say. The first voice that came through was melodious but cold, like wind chimes made of ice. Human vessel, you trespass on sacred ground. The Sentinel structures are under the protection of the Hegemony Alliance. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The second voice was deeper, rumbling like an earthquake. Your species is young, ignorant of the laws that govern this galaxy. Leave now, and we will overlook this transgression. The third didn't speak in words but in mathematical concepts that somehow translated into meaning. Probability of your survival if you remain approaching 0. Logical action, retreat. Marcus felt Emma Torres beside him, studying the Sentinel's defensive capabilities through her scanner. She whispered, Captain, this structure has weapons, but they're not active. They're waiting for something. Through the interface, Marcus understood. The Sentinel would only fully activate for humanity, but it needed more than one human to confirm the choice. It needed consensus, that uniquely human ability to disagree and yet find common ground. He looked at his team. Before we proceed, Marcus broadcast to the alien vessels. Might I ask why you're so interested in structures you can't activate? These Sentinels don't respond to you, do they? There was silence for a moment. Then the melodious voice returned, harder now. The Sentinels contain dangerous technology. We have guarded them for millennia, preventing their misuse. Young species like yours cannot comprehend the devastation they could unleash. Dr. Wright suddenly looked up from his data pad. Captain, they're lying. I'm reading the historical records. These 3 species, the Cytherians, the Gorvak, and the Numerical Collective, they formed their alliance only 300 years ago. They've been systematically locating and blockading Sentinel structures, preventing other species from approaching them. Marcus felt understanding dawn. You're afraid. You're afraid of what these structures represent. The possibility that you're not the apex civilizations you believe yourselves to be. The earthquake voice of the Gorvak rumbled with anger. You dare speak of fear? Your species has existed for a heartbeat of cosmic time. You know nothing of the burdens of maintaining galactic order. Maybe not, Marcus agreed. But we know something about fear. We've lived with it our entire existence. Fear of the dark, fear of the unknown, fear of each other. And you know what we learned? Fear is meant to be faced, not hidden from. He pressed harder against the interface, and suddenly the chamber filled with new holograms. These showed the truth the Hegemony Alliance had been hiding. The approaching darkness the ancient builders had warned about wasn't just coming. It had been held at bay by the dormant Sentinel network, but that protection was failing. Within a generation, maybe 2, it would break through. You knew, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the void. You knew the threat was still out there, and instead of preparing, you've been playing politics. Keeping other species from the tools they need to survive. The mathematical concepts from the Numerical Collective became agitated. Insufficient data for younger species to process. Panic probability unacceptable. Control must be maintained. Sarah Kim's voice cut in from the Perseverance. Captain, I'm detecting power buildups in their weapon systems. They're preparing to fire. Marcus looked at his team. Each face showed the same resolve. They understood what was at stake. Not just humanity's future, but the future of every species in the galaxy. Do it, he said simply. Dr. Wright, Emma Torres, and the others moved to the interface, placing their hands alongside Marcus's. The moment they made contact, the Sentinel erupted with light. The crimson glow transformed into brilliant white, and the structure began to transform. The walls became transparent, revealing vast mechanisms that had laid dormant for eons. Energy coursed through channels that resembled neural pathways. And Marcus realized that's exactly what they were. The Sentinels were designed to network, to create a galaxy-spanning consciousness that could coordinate defense against the coming darkness. But it needed a template, a species whose neural patterns could serve as the foundation, and the ancient builders had designed it specifically for humanity's unique cognitive architecture. The balance of logic and emotion, the ability to hold contradictory ideas simultaneously, the capacity for both individual achievement and collective action. Warning shot fired, Kim reported. It missed, but barely. Marcus felt the Sentinel's weapons come online, but also something more. Through the network, he could sense other Sentinels activating across the galaxy. Dozens, then hundreds, each one responding to this first activation, waiting for instructions. "This is your last warning, humans," the Cytherian voice said. "Deactivate the Sentinel or be destroyed." Marcus made a decision that would define humanity's role in the galaxy. Instead of raising shields or charging weapons, he did something unexpected. He opened every communication channel the Sentinel could access and broadcast, not to the Hegemony Alliance, but to every spacefaring species in range. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of Earth, speaking through Sentinel Network Node 1. I'm transmitting the truth that's been hidden from you. The darkness that destroyed the ancient civilizations is returning. The Sentinels were left behind to prepare us, all of us, for its arrival. But some among you have chosen to hide this truth, to maintain their power, rather than prepare for our common defense." He shared the data streams, the historical records, the projections of what would happen when the darkness broke through. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings received the truth simultaneously. The response was immediate. Ships began arriving, not Hegemony Alliance vessels, but others, a dozen different species, then more. They had heard the message, seen the truth, and come to witness humanity's choice. The Gorvak commander growled. "You've doomed us all. Order will collapse. Chaos will reign." "Maybe," Marcus admitted. "Or maybe we'll do what humans have always done. We'll adapt. We'll find a way to work together despite our differences. We'll face the darkness not as subjects of a hegemony, but as free species united in common cause." Through the interface, Marcus felt the Sentinel asking for final confirmation. Accepting the role of guardians would change humanity forever. They would inherit not just technology, but responsibility. They would need to guide without ruling, protect without conquering, lead without dominating. Dr. Wright spoke quietly. "Captain, I'm reading something interesting in these records. The ancient builders, they didn't die out completely. Some of them evolved, became part of the darkness itself. They're saying the only way to stop it is to offer it something it's never had before." "Which is?" Marcus asked. "Choice, free will. The darkness consumes because that's all it knows. But if we can show it another way, if we can prove that cooperation is stronger than consumption, that diversity is more powerful than uniformity." Marcus understood. The Sentinels weren't just weapons. They were teachers, designed to prepare the galaxy not for war but for the most important negotiation in history. And humanity, with all their contradictions and complexities, were uniquely suited to be the mediators. "All vessels, this is Captain Chen. I'm going to activate the full Sentinel network now, not as humanity's network, but as our network. Every species will have access to its knowledge, its defenses, and its responsibilities. We'll face what's coming together as equals." The numerical collective calculated rapidly. Probability of success with shared access, 37%. Probability of success with hierarchical control, 12%. Logic suggests accepting the human proposal. The Cytherian voice was bitter. "You don't know what you're doing. Unity through diversity is a fantasy." "It's a human fantasy," Marcus agreed. "We've been trying to achieve it for our entire history. We fail more often than we succeed. But we keep trying. And now we're asking you to try with us." Emma Torres spoke up. "Captain, the Sentinel is showing me something. If we activate it fully, it will change us, all of us. The neural integration will create a form of limited empathy between species. We'll actually be able to understand each other, not just translate languages, but truly comprehend different ways of thinking." It was a risk. Humanity would be opening their minds to alien thought patterns, just as the aliens would be experiencing human consciousness. It could lead to understanding or madness. Marcus made the choice. He pressed deeper into the interface and his team followed. The activation sequence began, and across the galaxy, Sentinels awakened fully for the first time in over 1,000,000 years. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Marcus felt his consciousness expand, touching minds across space. The cold logic of the numerical collective, the passionate pride of the Gorvak, the aesthetic obsession of the Cytherians. but also others, species that thought in colors and gravitational waves and quantum probabilities. And through it all, the human perspective served as a bridge, their ability to empathize without losing individuality, to understand without agreeing, to unify without conforming, became the template for the network's consciousness. The Hegemony Alliance vessels powered down their weapons. Through the network, Marcus could feel their commanders experiencing something they'd never known before. What it felt like to be small, young, and afraid, yet still choose hope. The human experience. The darkness will be here within 40 of your years, the Cytherian commander said. But now her voice carried something it hadn't before: vulnerability. We've been preparing for war. You're suggesting we prepare for conversation. We're suggesting we prepare for both, Marcus replied. Humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. Be ready to fight if necessary, but always try talking first. The darkness was once like us. Maybe it can be again. Dr. Wright was laughing, tears streaming down his face. Captain, do you realize what we've done? We've just created the first truly galactic civilization, not through conquest or domination, but through radical empathy. The Perseverance crew stood in the ancient chamber, hands still on the interface, feeling the weight and wonder of their new role. They had come looking for ancient mysteries and instead found the future. They had expected to be explorers and became bridges between worlds. Send a message to Earth, Marcus ordered. Tell them that humanity has a new job. We're not conquerors or rulers. We're translators, mediators, and teachers. We're going to help the galaxy learn what we've spent our entire history trying to understand. How to be different and yet united. How to disagree and yet cooperate. How to be individuals and yet part of something greater. The Sentinel pulsed with warm light, no longer crimson like the dying star, but golden like Earth's sun. Across the galaxy, other Sentinels responded, creating a network of light that would serve as both shield and beacon when the darkness arrived. Marcus removed his hand from the interface but felt the connection remain. Humanity had inherited the stars not as property but as responsibility. They would face the coming storm not alone, but as part of a galactic community they had helped create. As the team prepared to return to the Perseverance, the Gorvac commander sent one final message. Captain Chen, your species is young and foolish. You believe in impossible things like universal cooperation and peaceful coexistence. These are the dreams of children. Marcus smiled. Yes, they are. And maybe that's exactly what this old galaxy needs. The dreams of children who still believe anything is possible. Welcome to the human perspective, Commander. It's messy, contradictory, and absolutely beautiful. The exploration vessel. Perseverance departed the Sentinel structure, but they were no longer just explorers. They were humanity's first ambassadors to a galaxy that was about to learn what made humans special. Not their technology or their strength, but their stubborn, irrational, magnificent belief that everyone, everywhere, could work together if they just tried hard enough. The darkness was coming, but for the first time in a million years, the galaxy would meet it united, with humanity's greatest gift leading the way, hope mixed with determination, dreams tempered by reality, and the absolute certainty that together, anything was possible. Earth received the news with the chaos and excitement that defined humanity. Some panicked, some celebrated, some immediately began planning. But most did what humans did best: they adapted. Within days, schools were teaching xenobiology, philosophers were debating interspecies ethics, and engineers were reverse engineering Sentinel technology. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. They were the species the universe had been waiting for, the bridge between worlds, the translators of dreams. The silent vigil had ended. The storm was approaching, and humanity, with all their flaws and strengths, stood ready to face it with the most powerful weapon they possessed: the ability to bring others together, to find common ground in infinite diversity, and to never ever give up hoping for a better tomorrow.